She looked like a simple alien worker until she pulled off her hoodie. The air on Nexus Station always tasted like metal and ozone stale, recycled and faintly sharp on the tongue. For Alex Mercer, it was the flavor of familiarity. After 15 years bouncing from one edge of nowhere contract to the next, this place felt like every other rusting tin can on the rim. The kind of station where welders were in higher demand than diplomats, and coolant leaks were more common than clean water. He stepped off the transit platform with his equipment case slung over one broad shoulder, the bright yellow of his sleeveless jumpsuit already darkening with sweat. The docking bay was a jungle of bodies tentacled, scaled, chitinous, humanoid. A six-limbed Devarian brushed past him, nearly knocking his case out of his hand. Alex muttered a curse, steadying the weight with a flex of arms honed by real labor. Not Jim Vanity. Human Mercer. A flat voice called from behind him. He turned, coming face to face with a spindly Telian administrator. Its translucent flesh pulsed with the faint rhythm of organs beneath. Your clearance has been processed. Sector 7, Level 12. Your assistant is already on site. Assistant? Alex raised a brow. Didn't know I rated help. Resources are stretched thin. You will work with efficiency. The Telian handed him an access chip, then vanished back into the crowd. Typical Nexus. No time for questions. No room for pleasantries. The deeper Alex moved into the station, the worse the condition. The pristine concourse gave way to rusted. Support beams, hissing vents, and warning signs flashing in 17 languages. By the time he reached Level 12, the air had thickened with coolant mist and a tongue of melted circuitry. He stepped into the maintenance hub, blinking against the emergency lighting that bathed everything in a dull red glow. Pipes hissed overhead. The silence was broken only by the low hum of machinery and the distant thrum of the station's reactor. She stood near the far wall, crouched by a blown-out valve. Her yellow jumpsuit matched his, but the hood pulled low over her face left only a suggestion of who or what she was. Slender build, nimble fingers, no words wasted. You my assistant? He called. Yes, she replied without turning. I've isolated the rupture. Coolant's leaking through a secondary bypass. I'm preparing a weld path. The voice was muffled, precise, genderless. He pegged her as some alien tech, probably one of the quiet ones that never looked you in the eye. Alex, he said, setting his case down. Let's get started. They worked in a rhythm, speaking only when necessary. Alex found himself grudgingly impressed. She moved with competence, her hands quick, her analysis solid. Maybe not just another cog in the machine after all. Hand. Me, the plasma cutter, he said, holding out a gloved hand. She passed it wordlessly. Their fingers brushed, warm, soft, that caught him off guard. Most maintenance hands were scarred and calloused like his. He knelt beside a fractured pipe, aligning the torch. This junction's completely shot, he muttered. We'll need a whole new. The sudden flare of a short circuit sent a chi. Spray of sparks arcing into the air. She gasped and jumped back instinctively. Her hood slipped off as she straightened, and the world shifted beneath Alex's boots. She wasn't some quiet alien tech. She was. Breathtaking. Her skin shimmered. In the red light, a luminous cerulean blue, like ocean depths under moonlight. Silver hair tumbled over her shoulders in loose waves, catching sparks like polished wire. High cheekbones framed a face that was both familiar and exotic, and her eyes almond-shaped, deep as starfields locked onto his Ari, he realized. And young, maybe mid-20s by human equivalents. Holy hell, he whispered, staring. She tilted her head slightly, amused. You thought I was someone else. I thought you were a guy, he admitted, blinking. An alien guy. The corner of her mouth curved upward. Disappointed? He swallowed. Hard. Not even a little. Her smile lingered a second longer, before she turned back to the valve, pulling her hood up halfway, but not fully. As Alex watched her work, something shifted. He'd come to fix pipes, not unravel mysteries. But now, with this blue-skinned woman crouched beside him, humming quietly, as she calibrated a fusion patch, he felt something else stirring. Curiosity. And something far more dangerous. Interest. The air inside Sector 7's maintenance hub grew heavier, slick with vaporized coolant and tension that hadn't been there an hour ago. Alex adjusted the plasma, cutter in his grip, but his thoughts were still on the woman beside him. Lima. That was all she'd said when he asked her name. Just Lima, like it explained everything. She moved with quick, efficient grace, hands dancing across a cracked control panel that had seen better decades. Her focus never wavered, even after the moment their eyes had met, after he'd seen what she truly was. Alex had worked with Aari before. Diplomats, mostly. Poised, distant, dressed in flowing silks, and speaking like poetry was embedded in their genes. But this one, this Lima, she was something else entirely. Jumpsuit-clad, tools at the ready, fingers smudged with carbon scoring. A contradiction that made it hard to look away. He tried not to stare. Failed. "You sure you're just a maintenance assistant?" he asked, welding torch idle in his hands. "I never said I was," she replied, without looking up. He let out soft chuckle. "Fair." The torch hissed to life in his grip, its white-blue flames slicing into the ruined pipe. Sparks flew, the noise sharp in the confined space. Lima didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned in to scan the pressure readouts. "Primary coolant. Flows down to 30%, she said. "If we don't stabilize it soon, the regulators on Deck 8 will blow." "I'm working as fast as I can," Alex muttered. "Unless you know some alien shortcut?" "No shortcut," she said. "Just precision." She passed him a reinforced coupling without being asked. He took it, hands brushing again, brief but electric. Alex paused, feeling a strange warmth bloom beneath his ribs. It wasn't just the heat of the flame or the tension of the job. It was her. There was something in the way she moved, in the way she held herself reserved but alert, like someone trained to notice everything and reveal. An OTHINGA diplomat? No. Too hands-on. Military? Maybe. But that wasn't it either. "You ever welded before?" he asked, voice casual. "Not professionally. Could have fooled me. I'm a fast learner." Alex raised an eyebrow. "And what made you choose? A job in this rust bucket's underbelly?" Lima finally glanced up. For a moment, their eyes met again. Something unspoken passed between them, acknowledgement, maybe. Or challenge. "Maybe I wanted to see what kind of man works in places like this," she said. Alex blinked. That caught him off guard. A small, unexpected flutter twisted in his gut. Before he could respond, the console behind Lima flickered. Warning flash, red, fast, what the hell? Alex muttered, stepping closer. "That's not standard." Lima moved first, crouching to examine a junction box tucked behind a half-melted vent panel. She pried it open and froze. Alex leaned over her shoulder and saw it. A series of rerouted wires, intentionally crossed. Not damage. Not decay. Sabotage. Double quotes. "This isn't coolant failure," she said quietly. "Someone did this on purpose." Alex's jaw tightened. "Why?" "To make it look like an accident," she replied. "Or to trigger one at the right time." Her hands hovered over the wiring, not touching, just observing. "How'd you spot that so fast?" He asked. She hesitated for a split second. "I've worked on similar systems." "You learn to recognize patterns." Alex's instincts flared. Too calm. Too quick. But before he could push, a tremor ran through the floor beneath them. A low, distant boom echoed through the pipes. They both looked up. "That came from Deck 9, he said. "Environmental control," she whispered. "If that system fails, we lose containment," Alex finished grimly. "And the station starts baking like a sealed furnace." Lima stood, brushing, her hands off on her thighs. "We need to check the next junction. Lead the way." They moved fast, the silence between them no longer companionable, but edged with urgency. As they passed through another narrow corridor, steam curled from overhead vents. Warning klaxons began to pulse in the background glow at first. Then louder. Alex paused near a pressure release valve and pulled open a diagnostics panel. His eyes flicked across the data. "This is bad," he muttered. "System temperatures are rising across 4 sectors." Lima crouched beside him. Her silver hair, still partially hidden beneath the hood she hadn't bothered to fix, shimmered in the red light. She was sweating just like him. And despite the danger, he caught himself staring again. Her skin glistened, smooth and luminous. Like her body was lit from beneath. She turned suddenly and caught his gaze. Her eyes narrowed, but her mouth curved just slightly. "You really don't hide your thoughts well, do you, Alex?" "I'm just used to people being what they say they are," he said, returning her stare. "You're not." She didn't deny it. "I don't think you're here to fix coolant systems," he added. "And I don't think you're just a welder," she said calmly. Another tremor rocked the hallway. A vent burst open down the corridor, spewing hot vapor. "Later," Lima said, grabbing his arm. "We talk after we make sure this station doesn't explode." Alex nodded, pulse quickening, not just from the heat or the pressure. Something else was burning now. Something he didn't understand yet, but couldn't ignore. And it had silver hair and a voice that made him forget where the job ended and everything else began. Alex stepped beside the main terminal and pointed. "There's one more explosive. Here." He tapped the display. "Main docking bay, my guess? Time to detonate when the airlocks cycle for the Horizon's boarding tube." Krell glanced at the updated schematic. "Tactical Team 3 is en route. You'll join them. Coordinate disarmament." Alex nodded, already moving. "And the jammer? No confirmed location?" "If your Aari contact is still active, she may know." Alex's heart pounded as he headed for the lift that would take him to the docking bay. The lights of the station flashed warning red above him, echoing through the metal walls like a heartbeat. Wherever Lima was, she was running out of time. So was he, but he wasn't about to let this station fall. And he sure as hell wasn't going to lose her. The docking bay loomed like the gaping mouth of some mechanical beast, cavernous and echoing with tension. Emergency lights pulsed along the floor like arteries red, urgent, alive. Alex Mercer stood near the edge of a sealed pressure door, tactical gear hastily strapped over his jumpsuit, a borrowed toolkit hanging from one hip, a short-range communicator. Clipped to the other. Around him, 4 Vex security officers moved with calculated speed. Their sleek armor clicked softly with every movement, mandibles twitching as they scanned the chamber with compound eyes. The device should be near the environmental control junction, barked Officer Turk, the unit led, his antennae twitching. "If it's triggered when the Horizon docks, the blast will rupture the containment field. That could decompress the entire bay." Alex's jaw tightened. Through the wide viewport at the far end of the hangar, the Horizon was now fully visible. Long silver diplomatic cruiser with Earth's insignia glowing along its flanks. Elegant, beautiful, clueless. 20 minutes, Turk said. No more. Alex crouched beside a floor panel marked Main Block B2. He popped it open with practiced ease and recoiled slightly. The bomb was there, compact, sleek, alien, wired with redundancy triggers and proximity failsafes. Hell, he muttered, They weren't just planning to kill diplomats. They wanted this to look surgical. The Vex flanking him stared down at the device with unreadable expressions. "Can you disarm it?" Turk asked. "Not with these tools," Alex replied, scanning the wires. "I can't risk cutting anything without a field stabilizer. And if I disable the wrong circuit, would these help?" A voice called from behind him. Alex turned, heart leaping to his throat. Lima stood there, holding a black case in both hands. Her silver hair was matted with sweat, streaked with grease. Her jumpsuit was torn at the shoulder, revealing a deep scratch along her collarbone. But she stood tall, defiant, glowing faintly blue beneath the emergency lights. "Lima," Alex sighed, stunned. "You're alive, barely." She handed him the case. "I couldn't reach the secondary control room, but I raided the maintenance depot. Figured you'd need these." He took the tools, their fingers brushing, and for the briefest second, the chaos around them faded. "You're incredible," he said, voice low. "You're late," she replied with a tired smile. The Vex officers watched their exchange with what might have been confusion or amusement. "Get to work," Turk said dryly. "Flirting can wait until we're not seconds from incineration." Alex and Lima dropped to their knees beside the device, hands moving in unison. Years of military training took over for him, muscle memory guiding his fingers. Lima followed his lead, matching his speed and precision like they'd trained together. "For years, this trigger is pressure sensitive," he said. "We need to isolate the power cell first, or it'll short the entire rig." "Done," Lima whispered, sliding a microshield between two wires. "You always this calm when you're about to die?" "Only when I'm working with someone I trust." She paused just long enough to meet his eyes. Something unspoken passed between them, again acknowledgement, warmth, something deeper than adrenaline. A soft beep snapped them back. "Almost there," Alex said. He lifted a fiber optic coil delicately, then used the stabilizer to sever the connection. The device powered down with a sign click. Alex exhaled. "That's one more down." Turk tapped his communicator. "Last two devices located. Security. Teams are en route, but they need someone who knows how to disarm them." Lima's expression darkened. "And the jamming signal is still active. The Horizon still doesn't know they're flying into a trap." "I'll fix that," Alex said, standing. "There's an emergency beacon in the old chief engineer's office, old enough to run off analog frequencies. If I can reroute the broadcast and match the Horizon's emergency band, it might punch through," Lima finished, eyes lighting up. "It's a long shot," he grinned. "Then it's perfect for me." Turk nodded. "2 officers will go with you. The others will escort the Aari." Alex stepped close to Lima, gripping her hand tightly. "Be careful. We've come too far to lose each other now." Her fingers curled around his. "We have unfinished business, Mercer. I still owe you the rest of my story." "You better survive to tell it," he said, then leaned in and kissed her, quick, fierce, electric. It was a promise. And then they were gone, heading in different directions as Nexus Station ticked toward destruction. Alex reached the maintenance chief's office with only minutes to spare. The emergency beacon was buried beneath spare parts and 30 years of dust. With the Vex guards watching the door, he stripped it bare, reconfigured the circuits, rerouted the wiring, and punched in the override codes. The device hummed to life. Signal blinked. Once, twice. Nothing. And then, "This is Captain Reeves of the Horizon. Receiving emergency signal. Abort docking." "Repeat, abort docking." Alex sagged against the console, relief flooding through him. But it didn't last. Krell's voice came through the comm. "Human, the final jamming device is still active. The Aari is pinned down, and the last explosive is near the jamming signal." Alex's blood turned to ice. "Where is she?" Central Hub. Level 5. He was already moving before Krell finished speaking. Sprinting through the corridors, lungs burning, thoughts racing. Lima. Alone. Cornered. Facing down a terrorist cell without him. He didn't care about the mission anymore. Or the Vex. Or the Horizon. He just needed to get to her. And he would. Even if it killed him. The central hub of Nexus Station was a war zone. Smoke curled through the shattered atrium. Fires flickered behind collapsed consoles and overturned furniture. Somewhere above, coolant pipes had ruptured, casting steam like fog over the wreckage. The station groaned under its own wounded systems, the floor trembling with every pulse of power redirected to containment. Through it all, weapons fire cracked like lightning short, rapid bursts that echoed off the steel walls. Alex ducked behind a column, heart hammering, lungs searing from the sprint to level 5. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from urgency. Across. The atrium, behind a makeshift barricade of metal crates and furniture, Lima crouched beside 3 pinned-down Vex security officers. Her silver hair was soaked with sweat and blood, matted against her cheek. Her blue skin shimmered even through the haze, her eyes fierce as she fired a stolen plasma pistol over the top of their cover. Between her and Alex stood 4 heavily armored Vex Coalition extremists, entrenched around the source of the jamming. Signal a pulsing cylindrical device mounted to a central power relay. Behind them, barely visible in the haze, was the final explosive charge. The clock was almost out. Lima! Alex shouted, rising from cover for just a second too long to get her attention. Her head snapped around, relief flashing in her eyes, but it was fleeting. A plasma bolt sizzled past her, grazing her shoulder. She hissed in pain, but didn't fall. "I'm fine," she yelled back. "But we can't get through them." Alex ducked another shot and returned fire with the weapon one of the Vex guards had given him. It was clumsy, unfamiliar in his hands, but it bought a few seconds of cover. He scanned the upper platforms. There, our maintenance. Shaft access port directly above the jamming device. If someone could reach it, drop down. But Lima had already seen it. She turned to Turk, who shook his head, reading her plan before she even spoke. "You'll get killed," he growled, mandibles twitching. "I have the detonation override," she said. "They can't shut down the bomb unless I reach it." "No," Alex growled from across the hall, realizing what she intended. "No way, Lima, wait." But she was already moving. She slipped into the wall's maintenance conduit, using a vent grate as leverage to climb into the shaft above. Alex saw her silhouette disappear into the crawl space and felt something clench in his chest hair. And awe at once. He ducked as plasma fire streaked over his head. One of the Vex extremists had noticed him and was closing in. Alex fired blindly, forcing the enemy to retreat. Above. The shaft hatch opened. Lima dropped from the ceiling like a thunderbolt, landing directly on the jammer. The extremists shouted, mandibles flaring in alarm. One raised a weapon too slow. Lima plunged the power coupling into the device. A flash of light erupted short, contained, surgical. The jammer exploded in a shower of sparks, the concussive blast hurling her backward. Across the chamber. Alex broke cover instantly. Asterisk. The air was thick with vaporized coolant, acrid fumes, and the scent of something deeper tension, heat, and trust on a razor's edge. Alex followed Lima through the maze of auxiliary maintenance corridors, his boots clanging against grated floors slick with condensation. The station was beginning to groan under its own weight, systems straining as if it too felt the rising pressure. Lima moved ahead of him, her silver hair now fully visible, the hood pushed back without concern. Whatever secrecy she'd maintained was gone. Alex wondered if she even realized it. Maybe she did. Maybe she just didn't care anymore. This section's not on the standard schematics. he said, eyeing the junction numbers on the walls. "You sure this is the right way?" "I'm sure," she replied. "Some of these paths are buried in archival blueprints. You have to know where to look." He narrowed his eyes. "You do know your way around restricted access zones." She didn't answer, just kept walking. The corridor ended in a sealed bulkhead with an old retinal scanner. Lima stepped forward without hesitation and leaned in. The device chirped. Green light. Alex blinked. "Want to explain how a maintenance tech has retinal clearance for a restricted environmental control substation?" She glanced back at him, expression unreadable. "Not really." The hatch hissed open. Inside, the room was dark, except for the pulsing glow of status monitors. What should have been a redundant, rarely used control center was ... active. Very active. Displays showed schematics of the entire station, sectors blinking red. Alex's heart thudded. "This isn't just a control node," he muttered. "This is a command relay. Who the hell set this up?" "I think we're about to find out." Lima whispered Dot at the center of the room. A large table glowed with a 3D holographic projection of Nexus Station. But it wasn't just a structural diagram. Red pings lit up on Key Deck Sector 7, Deck 9, Cargo Bay 12, and the docking corridor ... explosives ... double quotes. "No," Alex breathed. "No way." Lima approached the console and tapped through layers of security. Far too quickly for someone in her alleged position. "This isn't accidental failure," she confirmed, voice steady. "These are placed charges, sensed, timed. Some are near environmental systems, others at pressure junctions. If they detonate during a dock, everyone on this station dies," Alex finished grimly. "And it'll look like a catastrophic systems failure." "No," she said, pointing. "It'll look like humans caused it. They've routed the signal paths through human-coded relays. If this goes off when the Horizon docks, it's not just a tragedy. It's a declaration of war." Alex stared at her. "And you knew to come here." Lima stepped back from the console. She didn't speak for a long moment. "I didn't come here to fix pipes," she finally said. He leaned against the console, arms crossed. "Yeah, I guessed that when your eyes opened a classified bulkhead." She sighed, brushing damp hair from her cheek. "I'm Aari Diplomatic Corps. Embedded, undercover." Alex blinked. "A diplomat? Observer," she corrected. This summit was meant to be a test. Quietly evaluate how ready human and Aari collaboration really is in the Outer Rim. I volunteered for field insertion. No handlers. No escorts. No attention. Alex exhaled, low and slow. "And what are you observing now?" She looked at him. Really looked. "That someone wants to kill a lot of people and frame your species for it. And that I trust you more than I probably should." Another tremor shook the room closer this time. Alex moved without thinking. "We need to go public with this. Now." Before Lima could respond, a siren blared above them. Short, sharp. The lights flashed red. The door behind them hissed ... and locked. "Damn it," Alex growled. "We tripped a containment seal." "No." Lima's voice was low. "Someone activated it from outside." And then the wall burst inward. The blast was concussive, slamming Alex into the far console and knocking Lima to the floor. Debris clattered across the room. Smoke filled the air. Shapes moved in the shadows, bipedal, armored, INSECTOID.VEX.Alex scrambled to his feet just as two Vex officers stormed through the breach, weapons raised. Their chitinous armor gleamed, mandibles twitching. "Don't move," one chittered in accented standard. "By order of Nexus Security, you are under arrest for sabotage and treason." Alex raised his hands slowly. Lima did the same. Her gaze flicked to him, calm despite the danger. "Think they'll listen if we explain?" he murmured. "They never do." The Vex moved in. Shackles clamped around Alex's wrists. He gritted his teeth. "Don't say anything," he whispered to her. "Let me handle it." "I wasn't planning to," Lima replied softly as they were dragged from the room. Alex looked back one last time at the table, still glowing with its red-hot warning. Whatever was happening on this station, it was far bigger than a repair job, and the woman who pulled off her hoodie was at the heart of it. The interrogation room was standard issue bare walls, a flickering overhead light, and the scent of recycled air that carried a metallic tang. Alex Mercer sat in a cold metal chair, wrists bound to a bolt-fixed table, his jumpsuit streaked with grime and blood from the earlier blast. His shoulder ached from where the Vex guard had slammed him into a bulkhead in a shallow cut above. His brow throbbed in time with his pulse, but none of it compared to the hollow feeling in his chest. They'd taken Lima. She hadn't resisted. Had barely looked at him as they were dragged in opposite directions. Either she was maintaining her cover, or she was about to disappear into some Vex black site, never to be seen again. He ground his teeth, flexing his fingers around the cuffs. "Think." The door hissed open, and a new figure entered, a tall Vex with a cracked carapace and faded unit insignia across his thorax. His mandibles clicked as he crossed the room, then folded into a disturbingly human approximation of a smile. "I am Commander Krell," the Vex announced in a dry, rasping tone. "Station security. You are Mercer, Alex, human, alleged welder. Accused of sabotage." Alex gave him a tired look. "You forgot uncooperative, grumpy, and bleeding internally. Want to add those to the charge sheet?" Krell tilted his head, insectal eyes glittering. "You speak flippantly. Human, considering your situation. Call it a coping mechanism." Krell tapped a datapad. "You accessed restricted systems. You were discovered near a detonation schematic. You were seen with an Aari operative, currently unaccounted for. All this during a diplomatic arrival." Window. Alex leaned forward as far as the cuffs allowed. "You're looking in the wrong direction. You've got a Vex cell on your station. Extremists. They're using this place as a stage for a false flag attack." Krell paused. His mandibles clicked, rapid and uncertain. "Explain." Alex nodded toward the datapad. "Pull logs from Sector 7. Cross-reference coolant system anomalies. You'll see sabotage patterns. I've disarmed 2 bombs. There are more. The plan is to blow Nexus the moment the horizon docks, make it look like humans triggered it." Krell stared at him, unmoving. "Don't believe me?" Alex continued. "Check Cargo Bay 12. Left a nice little present their disabled remote trigger. High-yield charge, buried under ductwork. Same design. Go ahead, prove me wrong." A long silence passed. Finally, Krell turned and barked something into a comm unit embedded in his shoulder. The alien language was harsh and wet. A moment later, a terse response crackled through. Krell looked at Alex again, this time with something resembling interest. "If this device exists, it will corroborate your story. If not, I know. I'll be space dust." The commander turned toward the door. "Remain here," Alex snorted. "Not going anywhere." He waited. Minutes ticked by, each one dragging heavier than the last. His mind kept circling back to Lima. Where was she? Had she escaped? Was she even alive? He thought about the way she'd moved, the weight of her gaze when she looked at him like he wasn't just another gruff contractor. Her voice, low and even, cutting through noise and panic. The brush of her fingers. The way she kissed fierce and unafraid, like she didn't know if she'd had the chance again. Please be alive, he thought. The door opened again. A junior Vex officer entered, mandibles twitching. "Commander Krell summons you." The shackles clicked open. Alex stood slowly, stretching sore shoulders as he was escorted through the winding halls of Nexus security. As they reached the upper levels, he could hear the shift in tone orders being shouted, boots echoing on deck plating, the distant buzz of AVAC sirens. When they entered the command center, Krell was at the center of it all, surrounded by holographic maps, reports, and fast-moving data feeds. 3 confirmed devices, he said without preamble. Cargo Bay 12, Sector 7, Environmental Deck 9. Your schematics match. You were telling the truth. Alex didn't say I told you so. He just nodded. But we still cannot reach the horizon, Krell continued. The jamming field remains active. Communications are restricted to internal bands only. What about Lima? Alex asked, stepping closer. The Aari. Have you found her? Krell's mandibles clacked. She evaded capture during a firefight in Access Corridor D14. Her current location is unknown. Alex's fists clenched at his sides. You should be helping her. She's trying to stop this, just like I am. The Vex commander regarded him. You are unusually concerned for a recent acquaintance. I'm not in the habit of letting people I care about die, Alex said, voice low. Krell studied him. A moment longer, then turned to his team. Deploy a search grid focused on internal power corridors and non-standard schematics. If she's hiding, it's where your sensors don't reach. He sprinted through the clearing smoke and reached her just as she was trying to sit up, dazed, blood trickling down her temple. Lima! He dropped to his knees, cradling her head with trembling hands. Talk to me. Her eyes fluttered open. Did it work? All around them, station coms burst to life. Repeat, all personnel, communications are now active. Emergency override confirmed. Security forces mobilizing to Central Hub. Then came the voice they'd been desperate to hear. This is Captain Reeves of the Horizon. Nexus Station, we are aborting docking and moving to safe distance. Repeat. We are pulling away. Alex laughed a breathless, broken laugh of disbelief and relief and pulled her into his arms. You did it. You crazy, beautiful alien. You saved us. She smiled weakly, resting her forehead against his. We saved us. Vex reinforcements stormed into the room moments later, weapons sweeping the chamber. The extremists turned to flee, but it was too late. Within seconds they were surrounded, forced to drop their arms. Alex helped Lima to her feet, keeping an arm firmly around her waist. Her legs were unsteady, but she walked. We need medical, he told one of the Vex officers, voice steel. Now, the officer nodded and summoned a drone dock as the chaos cleared. The last explosive was disarmed, the jammer destroyed, and the horizon safely distant. The station slowly returned to order. 3 days later, Nexus hummed with life again. Alex stood at a viewport overlooking the dock where the horizon now floated under heavy security. The summit was still happening, delayed but not derailed. The galaxy's peace had survived by the thinnest of margins. He felt arms slip around his waist from behind, soft and warm. I thought I'd find you here, Lima said, her voice near. His ear he turned, taking her in. No more jumpsuit. She wore a flowing Aari diplomatic robe now, deep navy that complemented her glowing blue skin. Her silver hair was brushed, loose. The wound on her forehead had been healed by advanced medtech, leaving only a faint shimmer. You clean up nice, he murmured, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. And you, she said, tugging playfully. At his collar, still looked like a welder trying to pass as a war hero. He chuckled. I kind of am. They stood together in silence, looking out at the stars. I have to tell you something, Lima said after a moment. Something I didn't get to finish before everything went to hell. I'm listening. I wasn't just observing humans on behalf of the Aari. She turned to face him fully. I'm the daughter of the Aari ambassador. I volunteered for this because I needed to know if you could be trusted not just with our technology or trade, but with our lives, with our future. Alex's brows lifted. Your royalty? Not exactly, she said, smiling, but close enough. He let out a breath and took her hands in his. Does it bother you that I'm just a welder with a shady military past? She shook her head. You're the man who held my hand when the station was burning. That's all I care about. Another silence. But this one was peaceful. They offered me a position on the horizon, she said. Permanent diplomatic liaison. First contact advisory. And they said they could use someone who knows structural systems and explosives. Someone with experience under pressure. Alex grinned. Sounds like you need a welder. I need you, she said simply. He pulled her into an embrace, lifting her off her feet as she laughed. Well, he said, kissing her gently, when you put it that way, how could I say no? Outside the viewport, the stars shimmered. The galaxy awaited. Together, they were ready.